much. Madam Clerk, would you call roll, please?
Commissioner Webster,
Here.
Commissioner Holzhausen,
Here.
Commissioner Root, absent, excused.
Mr. Chair.
Is he absent?
I'm sorry, I did not.
Commissioner Root.
I have not heard anything.
No. If you're not on the committee, you're not.
Is that the case?
That's the case.
And then no requirement within.
Commissioner Garber,
Here.
Commissioner Plowman,
Here.
Vice Chair Marks,
Here.
and Chairman Broder.
Here.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You're welcome.
So now at this time, we're going to move into our approval of the agenda, which, though we would have one possible addition, I would request that we add under agenda item I, under Health and Human Services, a motion to approve the filling of a public health nurse grade 9. Had a recent nurse accept a job somewhere else. It's kind of last minute. The health department would like to not wait another month to be able
Here.
to fill that kind of quickly.
Oh, thanks.
We could have someone make a,
I'll make the motion that we add item I to your health and human services.
thank you. We have a second for that. Is there any discussion over the agenda, the addition, anything like that?
I got a call from the health director yesterday, I think, telling me about this. We lost a very good person, and which often happens, unfortunately, in our county, and we're very much in need of replacing, which is why this is added. I think we definitely need to do that.
Anybody else? All right, hearing none, all in favor of approving this agenda as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign, and this agenda is approved. And before we move into our public comments, we do have a quick comment from the board chairman, Chairman Berger, board chairman.
Sure. I just wanted to make it clear to everyone, in case you hadn't already noticed, that from now and going forward, we are going to definitely follow our own rules that we've set up as far as how public comment is handled. Not a lot different, other than we will not, the chair hopefully will not allow personal attacks on people. We are not limiting what can be said regarding business or other county business and so on, but we won't be allowing personal attacks. 3 minutes will be the limit within reason, of course. If you're just finishing up, I'm sure you can get a little slack. There's nothing in our rules that allow you to pass your time on to someone else. In the larger meeting, a handful of weeks ago, people were doing that, and that did allow for some abuses. Not that it was abuse, but that it could allow for some, and you could bring 5 people in and stand and talk for 15 minutes. So there's no part of our rules that allow that. So basically, we're going to try to maintain decorum at our meetings. That's best for everyone. On our side of things, I will be asking all the commissioners to please refrain from engaging, interrupting the speaker, and so on. There will be a time after public comment going forward for commissioners to make general replies to what they heard, but not interrupting yourselves when you come and speak to it, unless the specific forum, like earlier in the Finance Committee, was interactive. So I just want to let you know the rules are posted on our website. They're not new rules. They're nothing we've changed. We just have been rather lax in the past, both on the public and on ourselves in enforcing those rules. So hopefully going forward, that'll make our meetings more smooth, more cordial. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Board Chair. We'll do our best to follow your rules of order as presented. And so with that, we'll go ahead and move into our first opportunity for the public to address the board. We'll start off with those who have filled out slips, and then we'll go to anyone who would like to address after. Mr. Les Schneider from Durand, Michigan. First, you have the floor.
Sure, you make me feel special. This is the first time I've ever had to be first. There's a lot of things that is going on, as we all know. I do disagree with Commissioner Broder, because as this is committee of the whole. That means all commissioners should be here. He doesn't want to show for whatever reason. He should be here, especially with everything that's going on in the county. You guys seem to be very happy with going on with things that has always been the way they have always been done. You guys, as commissioners, have gotten bad advice dealing with this federal grant money. The people that were giving you the bad advice still employed. Why is that? They should not be. You shouldn't be listening to others that are in question. Is it because they had, been singled out for doing wrong things in closed sessions? And it's still out that it was a legal closed session or not. And it's just so many things that are just plain wrong, and the public needs to know. I know from my being in the service for so many, many years, you don't take federal money. The government is not partial to letting anybody get away with that kind of stuff. And if the county has the attitude that it was all right to misuse that funds, I don't believe that the feds are going to let them just slide. Okay, as wrong is wrong. That money was supposed to be spent to help people that were I'm trying to grasp what word that covers it all, but people that were harmed by COVID. Individuals, small businesses, you name it. And you guys went the opposite direction and started at the top, and you still haven't really talked about helping the little guy. Thank you very much, and see you later.
Thank you, Mr. Schneider. Matthew Shepard, Perry, Michigan. You have the floor, sir.
I will reiterate what I mentioned at the previous meeting. In the ARPA fund tax law, whatever you want to call it, it clearly states that small businesses and residents that suffered should be included. Yet, nothing has been motioned since the inception of ARPA, $1.9 trillion package, of which this county has already received half of its allocation of $6.6 million this year, and it will receive another $6.6 million next year. And you guys just want to give it to government departments and hold it for yourselves and department heads and what have you. That's just wrong. Was it not clear from Genesee County Judge all funds over $5,000 will be returned to the fund? Yet you want to give that money out to department heads and middle level management. Just the other day, I had a funeral for the VFW past state commander, otherwise I'd have been here. My wife came in my place, but the door was locked at 4:30 with a note on the door that said the meeting for money was canceled and would reconvene today. Well, yes, it reconvened today, but you still open the doors at 5 o'clock Monday. Yet there was some sort of closed session meeting going on in Mr. Boggs' office with gentlemen that she wasn't clear who it was. She could hear voices. Couldn't tell what was being discussed, but we'll just assume that it was another closed session meeting in this county. before the regular convening meeting. Now, we have 3 recalls in order. The Board of Canvassers approved that unanimously, yet these same 3 commissioners appealed it. There's nothing on that that can be disputed, other than the punctuation, I believe, that was brought up. Semicolons. Wow, don't know what a semicolon is? Look it up. It separates a sentence, so you don't have to create new sentences. We cannot include the whole letter of the law, as Mr. Plowman's attorney stated, in that little space provided for the recall. 3 lines, when pages upon pages of laws applies to what they violated. I reserve the respect of readdress.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Anthony Carhoff. Oh, you have the floor, sir.
I'll continue on with what Mr. Shepherd spoke on. Yes, the 3 commissioners that are being sought for recall are Jeremy Root, John Cowan, and Cindy Garber.
Point of order, I thought we weren't going to.
This is public comment, I have a right to speak.
People wanted to hear what you had to
Chairman,
say,
there's
you being
interaction.
elected.
Follow the rules, ma'am. Point of order. Okay. Board of Canvassers have spoken and given their opinion that it was an approved ballot language. And on top of that, I just was informed that 3 commissioners were served today. Holzhausen, Plowman, and Garber. But Root wasn't, not yet, because he's not here today. I'm speaking because I'm upset with all the individuals on this board, as you guys are responsible for the operations and financial well-being of this county. I'm asking, again, for Commissioner Root to resign, Garber to resign, and John Plowman to resign. At this time, I hope this county will begin seeing transparency and not be excluded from private closed-door session meetings. And I hope that we can hold our commissioners accountable without having to interrupt the public from speaking, which is their freedom of right. I wish everybody a good day. See you later.
Thank you, Mr. Carhoff. Mr. Tom Mankey. You have the floor.
What I'd like to bring up is something that was discussed yesterday, and it's before you today, and that is a payment on a funeral of a person who died in the line of duty. I understood yesterday when I heard that there was a life insurance policy of $25,000 for a deputy. Personally, that's nothing. To me, an officer, if he dies in the line of duty, his family should be looking at getting much, much more. At that funeral, we had 80-some people from law enforcement, we had from our court system, we had there to show respect. This man, this deputy, died in the line of duty. He caught COVID in the jail. How do we know that? Because COVID has run rampant in the jail. I don't know very many people who don't have it that's in the jail. All the sources are saying it's all through the jail. So this deputy dies in the line of duty, and I believe it's only right for this county to step up and to pay the $12,000 for his burial. I would even suggest that maybe look at whether legality of in that money that we have for COVID, that maybe his family is given some money also. That's what I've got to say, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mankey. Is there anybody else who would like to address the board at this time? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and move into our committee motions and reports. Let's see, who is the vice chair of the committee report? Is it Mr. Holzhauer?
can do that.
thank you very much. If you would, item A for us.
Sure. I would move that we vote for Democrat and Republican nominees for the Shiawassee Board of Canvassers.
I'll support that.
Item A has been moved and supported. You do have in your packet here a list of candidates on the official ballot. And I'll just give you a second to review those.
May I ask? Okay. Late today, I received an email from a candidate for the Republican seat that is open, and I did email all of you on Monday the 13th from the Democrat candidate. I would like to add, if you did not read those emails, these are two individuals that have been long-term canvass members, and their knowledge and their institutional memories and their skills of understanding the process and how things have changed have been invaluable to the county as 2020 went forward. I can confirm and assure you that the the Bureau of Elections did fail in training the Board of Canvassers, as it is their responsibility, not my responsibility. I am the clerk to this board, and so I am asking that you strongly consider the two parties that have put in letters and as the Democrat and Republican reps, because they are invaluable to the process and their knowledge is well-deserved in being able to help teach the two newest ones that are on there, and we are going to be working in the next 4 years in making sure that they are being trained properly and things to look for. So with that, you have your ballots before you.
Is this something that we're doing immediately?
Yes,
Does it have to be done today, or is it not?
yes,
official till
it's,
tomorrow?
you do it now, I tally, and we just,
It's part of the order.
So then tomorrow.
When did you send the emails out?
today was one from the Republican and the 13th was from the Democrat.
I never got none of them, so.
Yes.
You got the email about one more, but I'm not seeing a ballot.
It was turned over on your,
Just
it says
circle who
official
you vote
ballot,
for.
you need to circle one of the names.
Yeah, just hand it. Everyone.
I'll confirm your email, Gary, but
Pass this along to you.
Yeah, pass them right down this way.
Yep, you wanna fold them? Yeah.
Reach.
I'll wait for Cindy.
It seems to me like we can't. I think we can't do paper ballots for another meeting.
no, yes, you can, because if someone were to FOIA it, that is why I have your names on the bottom.
Well, the one that says Root is actually Garber.
I put one for Commissioner Root.
For some reason, she doesn't have it in front of her, so we just gave her his. So just make a note of that.
I did put one down for you.
I'm sure you did, somehow it must have got
It's
lost.
in the paper shuffle around here.
Sorry about that.
I don't know if I have it or not.
Is there one on the floor?
So to be
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
clear about this, the recommended names were able to go on for a final vote tomorrow, right? Because nothing's official in committee of the whole.
We've always done it this way, that they go before and it gets voted on, and that's who they, and then yes, it goes on for final tomorrow.
So
But-
this just moves those names forward onto a final confirmation tomorrow.
Yes.
All right, so you want to be clear to that? Like I said, it would be.
Would you repeat that? I didn't hear you.
I
These are
don't know that
nominations.
we can do this on committee of the whole because none of our business is final until tomorrow.
Well, especially since Commissioner Root was not required to be here. So his absence is excused. That means he didn't get a chance to vote.
Right.
Yeah, he cannot vote for committee of whole because he's not a member.
Right. But he can vote on this, so should we be doing this today?
I almost thought it might be better tomorrow. But
These are the nominees. So Carol Spaniola is the Democrat nominee and Mary Nordbeck is the Republican nominee.
what's your pleasure, commissioners? Are these names you
Wait,
want forward? Let's talk about
Let's
this.
hear,
If those are the two nominees brought forth. If another nominee would like to be from the Democrat Party, or if we had somebody else that you'd like to nominate from the Democratic Party, or from the Republican Party, or vice versa. I mean, there might be 3 people running, but she only got 2 people.
No, I received 3 names from each party.
Oh,
That's what was
okay.
before you, the 3 different names. You're selecting one from each party.
But, so we're voting, not nominating, because the nominations were made by the party.
Yes,
And
it's,
so I think the concern of the commissioners is, we don't wanna vote at committee of the whole because Commissioner Root is not here, and he needs to be part of the vote, and he can't vote here.
this is how it's been done. in
But we
the
don't have
past,
7
so
people here tonight, is what I'm saying, it's
I
different.
think if we just
Our
pass those
situation's
same ballots out tomorrow.
I can do that,
Yeah, we
Let's
can
just
do
do it tomorrow.
Yeah, that'll work, because he's not here.
okay?
Okay, sorry about that. So we'll go ahead and vote.
I have,
Does that mean we do it again, or
Can
should
we,
we
yeah,
both
can we
votes?
table,
You can run this.
You should probably-
you don't wanna table item
Yeah.
She will.
Except she's already announced names, so.
She has, names have already been announced.
So, it's probably done and just has to be ratified tomorrow, I guess.
We can forward the 2 names and vote on them and argue about it tomorrow.
I
And
guess
then you
so.
get his say tomorrow, just.
Caroline, how has this been done in past years?
it has been
You just like
done just like we have done and voted, and then those are the representatives.
better confirmed tomorrow?
No, they usually are just, today it is.
So the committee of the whole voted rather than the board of commissioners is the issue.
We're in a unique situation right now, of course, because of Commissioner Root not being part of the committee of the whole at this time. So how we did it in the past may not matter.
What is the legal requirement? Is it that the board of, under election law, is it the board of commissioners approve the board of canvassers, or does it not specify it specifically?
I would have to reread that.
If it says that it's the board of commissioners, it would have to be done tomorrow, would be my gut feeling. But
That was my first instinct too.
because this is not the board of commissioners, it is the committee of the whole, which I know is a subtle difference, but it might be enough of a nuance. I think we should probably find out specifically, perhaps table this till tomorrow,
Okay, we put all the names back on.
and Caroline and myself can talk to Eric Morris about specifically.
Well, I'll look up I'll look up the law.
Because it specifically says board of commissioners. I don't think this will be it,
I'm unwilling to exclude District 5 from
but that is not.
this vote.
Was there a motion?
There was a motion.
I was the second. Cindy, were you the motion?
Yes,
I would you amend your motion to table it till tomorrow?
Yes, absolutely.
Now, I'll amend my second.
We have an amended motion and a second to table this item and have it appear before all 7 of us tomorrow. Is there any discussion or questions on that? Seems reasonable to me. All right, then, all in favor of that happening, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so item A will move on for a final vote tomorrow with the same ballots, same names. And so that will conclude, and I thank you, Commissioner Garber, for reading my committee report, because the chairman can't. So we'll move into our Finance Administration Committee. The chairman of that committee is Commissioner Plowman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to approve the budget adjustments as presented.
Second?
Motion and second for item A. Any questions or discussion over this item? Talked about it Monday meeting. All right, hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. That motion carries. And Commissioner Plowman, before you move on.
Yes.
If you, I'll take a look at item L. And again, this is up to your pleasure, but that's going to be well talked about. Would anyone be opposed to moving item L under finance all the way to the end of the agenda so we can conclude all of our business before we get into the major discussion of the night?
I I do not object.
Is there any objections to that?
No objection.
None for me.
Mr. Klein, let's do that. Thank you.
Okay?
You gonna move it where now?
We're just moving item L to the end because it's gonna be the most talked about issue. We'll just conclude all of our business and then we can spend the rest of the evening talking about it. Which is a discussion for reawarding premium payments to bill managers. Just so everyone knows.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to approve the contract with Canteen Services as presented and authorize the board chair to execute the contract.
Support.
Item B has been moved and supported. Questions or discussion? Hearing none, all, yes, sir.
I'd like to hear from the sheriff about it.
Okay.
A bit more technical of what's going on. Or you,
We're
don't you
gonna
think he should be here?
Outsource food service,
I know what it is, but I thought maybe explain a little more why he's doing it.
because we can't get people to work in the kitchen.
And I believe it saves a bunch of money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see that, but I didn't know if he was gonna be here to detail it a little more. or not.
So
That's
this
all right.
doesn't eliminate, you probably know a little bit about this, eliminate any of the positions already available. It's just when they call in, we don't have, we
No.
need staff in there.
The staff members that currently work for the county jail will become canteen staff members.
So it's total privatization.
It is privatization, and they get, there's a process for transitioning them over. It's not guaranteed that they meet certain requirements, but they will then continue their service. But we have had a lot of struggles staffing the jail cooks, and then currently the jail cooks also do all the ordering and placing of food, which is more than they would be doing once they become this service takes over. It would then be ordered with all the other counties that are using the same service for jails, and they order it all.
Somehow I felt led to believe that this wasn't what we were, on Monday when we voted on this, I felt like they said something to the effect of, well, people are coming in too much, so when they do
People are
that, they'll
calling.
get these people.
Yep. People
I
are
understand
calling.
that, but this is indeed a total privatization.
It is a total privatization, and when people call in, they will, because they're using them in a variety of other jails around us, those people will be able to, if they get security clearance, be able to come in and work in our jail.
So I have a question. So our current employees who are working in the jail, they're gonna be hired by Canteen. Do we have any representation from Canteen about whether these people are gonna be kept at a similar level of pay,
Similar level.
similar benefits?
Yes.
So we're not gonna have a negative impact on our employees?
No, and one of them is going to be retired. Probably before the transition.
Any other commissioner discussion or questions over this item? I do wish we had a representative from Canteen at least here. That's his questions. All right. Hearing no other discussion, all in favor of moving item B forward signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, commissioners, same sign. Motion carries.
I move to approve the engagement letter with Baker Tilly for the refunding of bonds.
Support.
Item C, moved and supported. Commissioner questions or discussion over this item? Hearing none, all in favor of item C signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I move to approve the resolution amending the lease agreement with Shiawassee Health and Wellness as presented.
Support.
Item D, moved and supported. Questions or discussion over this item? Yes, sir.
Just very briefly, Mr. Chair, with these two agenda items, that should conclude everything that the board needs to do with selling bonds and maybe a couple of closing documents, but we are moving forward with all that.
That's item D and E.
Yes.
Anyone else?
C and E, I'm sorry.
C and D, okay.
C and D.
Okay, I move to approve.
Nope. Sorry. All in favor of that item?
Oh.
Signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carries.
I move to approve phase one of the jail roof repair with WTI in the amount not to exceed $253,620.97.
Support.
Item E, moved and supported. This item is open for commissioner discussion.
Mr. Chair, we have Dustin here and of course our building and ground supervisor, Tim Hill, to come up and talk to you guys about the process so that you can ask any of your questions and go through what they do and how the bids were put out and selected.
Okay. Gentlemen, you have the floor. Thank you for being here. Okay.
He's here to explain, what's going on. I hope this helps.
Good evening. My name is Dustin Freemian, and I'm a field advisor with a company called Tremco, Roofing and Building Maintenance. Tim just passed out a really brief presentation that I put together, and just wanted to be mindful of everybody's time. We can go ahead and get into it in case there are questions at the end. I want to make sure we have ample time to be able to answer those. Before we get started, I just want to say thank you to members of the board, staff of Shiawassee County, as well as any community members who took time out of their evenings to be here. I think it's helpful to provide a quick snapshot of who we are as a company and what exactly we do, and maybe even a little historical context of the partnership that WTI Tremco has had with the county in years past. So the first couple pages will cover that, and then we'll get into more specific items with regards to the roofing of the jail. Let's see. If everybody can turn to the page that says an RPM company at the top and has a bunch of materials and products in front of it. So
You don't have the pages numbered?
page 3, bottom right. The pages are numbered.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they're so little I can't see
Or
it.
at least- My apologies. So Tremco is part of a construction products group.
I knew that.
We specialize in making products, materials, and systems that keep unwanted air and unwanted water out of buildings. Okay? We have been around for almost 100 years. We're part of a $6 billion company, which at the top of that page it says an RPM company. They are our parent company. We are, meaning Tremco is part of the commercial industrial side of things. There's also a consumer portion that makes up about 30% of the portfolio, with some names that you'll find in box stores you may be more familiar with, like Rust-Oleum and Gap. So just to give you a little idea of the name Tremco. If you flip to the next page, at the top it says why utilize Tremco. So for the past few years we've helped the county manage leaks, mostly at the jail, some at the district court, and that's great. There are some clients that's all we do is help manage and do leak repairs for them. For most of our clients, we do a lot more. And I think the bullet points on this page that we can walk through will give you an idea of I guess, our full capacity and what we're capable of. So typically, we deal with municipalities, K through 12, universities, and large healthcare hospital networks. What these clients have in common is they have multiple buildings. These buildings have multiple roof sections per building, and it's a lot to keep track of. So we specialize in gathering data up front, doing the legwork to collect information and walk all the buildings to figure out what type of roofs you have, approximately what condition they're in. And when we gather this information, we're able to prioritize it based on current conditions and roofing needs, and then we place accurate budgets to that and help create extended 3 to 5 year asset management plans. So you all can plan accordingly and not be caught off guard when things need to be addressed around the building. When budgets get approved, for example, and we're looking to go to project, we help with that as well. So we help with bid documents, we write the specifications, We invite as many contractors as you'd like to see to that bid. We help with the pre-bid process. As those bids come in, we do post-bid interviews with the low bidder, sometimes the two lowest bidders, to make sure that everything is accounted for, and so that you all and our company don't get caught in a bad spot midway through a project. As those projects are going on, we serve as project managers. So even for something as small as just leak response and minor repairs, Tim gets progress reports with photos and descriptions of what was done. So you have records of that. For larger projects, it's important because typically you see flags up on the roof, you see people on the roof, and you assume that what you paid for is being done. We wish that was always the case. Unfortunately, it's not. We try to provide as transparent of a process as possible so you know what was paid for and what was specified is actually being done on the roof. And at the end of it, we are the warranty holders. So we can help with everything from A to Z, and when we're that involved, it's really hard for anybody, especially us, to point a finger if something were to happen at somebody else. So we take a lot of responsibility and liability throughout this process. Also, it gives you one contact point as opposed to having to track down the manufacturer, the contractor, things of that nature. So we can go to the next page. Some common questions that come up: who do you do business with? So County of Shiawassee, County of Saginaw, Genesee County, City of Flint, City of Mount Pleasant, Central Michigan University, Mott Community College, U of M Flint. There's more, but there are more important things to talk about than the entire comprehensive list of people we work with throughout the state. If we flip to the next page, I've included some condition photos. I wish they came out a little bit better how they looked on my computer, but I said to the right, there's a description that says the existing ballasted EPDM or rubber roof system is past its service life. As these roofs age, they shrink and become brittle. Stress points around perimeters, penetrations, laps and seams are the common problem areas. And for years we've helped with repairs, and new deficiencies continue to appear. The next page. So as we start talking about the specifics of the proposed project, it's a very unique situation. These are the two roof sections that we're focused on, which have been the most problematic, present a lot of hurdles or challenges. So if you look at the photo on the top left, there is ductwork that is very low to the roof surface that has to be disassembled and then reassembled, or new ductwork installed once the roofing is done. The picture on the top right, you see another angle of that ductwork running along the entire perimeter edge, as well as a large skylight that is on tracks that used to be able to open and close. And then the bottom two photos, there are permanent safety items that also need to be disassembled and reassembled during the project. So we're dealing with a situation where we've got multiple trades involved. On the right-hand column, I put some of those bullet points out there. In addition to what we've already talked about, there is some electrical disconnect, as well as demoing an existing gas line, reinstalling a new, and painting. We flip to the next page. I have the proposed roof areas. So the proposed project, in addition to addressing the points on the previous slide, the existing ballasted sections will be removed and replaced with an adhered roofing system. This system will include tapered insulation to promote positive drainage, and a cover board to prevent damage from foot traffic, general maintenance and extreme weather events such as hail, which is fairly common in this area. The system would provide a 30-year proactive warranty, and what I mean by proactive warranty is built into our standard warranties. Our inspection team with our warranty department comes out at years 2, 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25, providing detailed photo reports. Again, so you have more of an idea how these systems are performing, and if there are minor deficiencies, those get addressed during the time of inspection also. I was asked, and I thought it would be a good idea too on the next page, because the proposed roofing is 2 very small sections, and the price tag looks pretty big because of a lot of those challenges that are on those roof sections. So to provide a more thorough or comprehensive picture, the remainder of the building is not nearly as complex as those 2 sections. Also, we can potentially benefit from economies of scale. The more square footage will help drive the square foot cost of roofing down. So I provided budget numbers for the rest of the building, if nothing else, for planning for the future. But I want to make it clear that on this page, these are just budget numbers. I feel like they are worst case scenarios, so if anything, we should go backward. But that is always what we aim to do, is to provide worst case scenario, so we're not going the wrong way, essentially.
Justin, could you explain it in the bid process that you get?
Yeah. Yes, so we used, I guess what I would call a bit of a hybrid bid scenario. Typically, the traditional way with public bids, you've got to advertise for 2 weeks, invite contractors, you have the pre-bid, their bids come in and say you give them 2 weeks, right? So that's a month's time. With this having multiple trades involved, I thought it would be easier for one entity to oversee the whole project. We, meaning Tremco, is fortunate to be the low bidder on several cooperative purchasing contracts or consortiums, which does the county use any sort of co-ops currently, or have used in the past, or is anybody familiar with that way of purchasing? Okay. So for nonprofits, for public entities, again, Tremco is the low bidder on a few cooperative purchasing contracts. This is done a little bit backwards. So with co-ops, everything is pre-bid and pre-competed up front. So every manufacturer has an opportunity to bid on these co-ops. Tremco happens to be the low bidder when it comes to materials and construction services. The particular co-op that we're utilizing for this project is called the AEPA. One of the benefits to the county by utilizing those co-ops, number one, it's a slightly quicker process. Number two, you get a 13.4% discount on materials. You're presented with a one-page line item contract that checks all of the boxes to assure you that it is compliant and above board way of spending. So lots of municipalities, lots of universities, lots of K-12s use these sort of things because it gives them a little bit more flexibility and control, but they also benefit from discount off materials. So when I said we did a bit of a hybrid, we're utilizing the cooperative purchasing agreement, but we still invited multiple contractors to bid. And to get into specifics, we invited 5 roofing contractors to bid this work. ranging from some of the largest union shops in the area to small union shops. So we had Brown and Son out of Bay City, we had Mid-Michigan Roofing out of Saginaw, we had National Roofing out of Flint or Burton, Lutz Roofing out of Shelby Township, and Shane Roofing out of Livonia, who is a non-union contractor. So we had a wide spectrum of people that we invited to do this work. Because of a combination of the fact that the two proposed roof sections are not much square footage at all, it's about just over 2,100 square feet. And the complexity of having to deal with ductwork, the skylights, disassembling, reassembling the permanent safety. Two of those contractors submitted numbers. So we did get, when I say hybrid, that's what I meant by that. You could, by utilizing co-ops, you could essentially pick a contractor and pick a supplier and go that route, but we wanted to create a competitive bidding scenario. And the next closest bid, the other contractor, was about $20,000 more. So,
Commissioners, do you have any questions for?
I do.
Gary, yes.
Yeah. I was on the capillary community board for years, and they used. You get any bid for putting foam on, or not?
No.
Oh, you don't believe in foam then?
So our company does not do foam.
Yeah.
We have the ability to restore old foam roofs. But no, we did not.
Oh, I know they did.
An alternate bid.
Okay. They did all theirs. They own several buildings. They did one here in Shiawassee County. They foam it. What's nice about that, they have a little dip. You can foam it and get it thicker. You don't have to rip everything off like you're doing. Also, I'm on the senior citizen board, and over to Morris, we had the same problem, leaking. We had a rubber roof on there, and Marlene's on it with us, and we put foam on that, and they give us some foam pieces, and if you got a dip, you can put it thicker, and the foam is so dense you can't pull a nail out of it. So I'm personally more into the foam thing because you can fill in all the voids and move them more with foam, and they guarantee it. They put epoxy on it, and they keep updating on the epoxies and stuff like that. So that's just my intake on it. So
Yep.
I'm not a rubber person, so all the experiences I had with all the committees I've been on.
Yeah, and we're not proposing a rubber roof system. But yeah, we are, and I am very familiar with foam systems.
That's my take. So.
Yes.
If I may, we're replacing a rubber roof system with an adhered roofing system and so on. Can you tell me the difference between a rubber roof and an adhered roofing system? I know we're pulling off a rubber roof.
Yeah. So it's an important question. I want to make sure I answer it. So please let me know if I don't.
I'm hardly a roof expert, so
Okay.
Simple language using hand puppets, that sort of thing would help.
Yes, I'm going to do my best, and let me know if I'm failing at
All right.
at that. So the rubber roof that we're taking off is ballasted. So if we think of river rock, that's what's holding that roof down. It's oftentimes used as a way to cut costs, as opposed to having to use fasteners and adhesives. The challenging thing with rubber, and especially in a ballasted type of assembly, rubber, the current roof that's on the jail is a 60 mil rubber membrane that has laps and seams. When we think about 60 mil, think about approximately the thickness of your credit card. And that's when it's coming out of the factory. So as it ages, it is not that thickness anymore. And as those age, the oils that once gave it the ability to stretch and recover bake out of it. It's a black roof, right? Also, the river rock that has been on it for decades becomes dirty, which just introduces more foreign substances to that roof. And again, they shrink, they become brittle, and they start breaking down at those stress points, perimeters, penetrations, laps, and seams. A challenge with that, we have a concrete deck. When water can get into that system, it's free to run wherever it can, essentially, right? Because if we think of, it's not glued down, we just have a loose laid sheet. So once water gets in, it's able to migrate. It makes finding leaks more challenging. On top of that, whenever we're called for a leak call, part of what the county is spending money on is moving rock to try to search for that leak, and then moving rock back. And we're doing that on a brittle membrane with rock that has been up there for decades and is in some cases, small, sharp pieces. So any foot traffic just potentially does more damage. When we talk about an adhered system, we're gluing it down, okay? A benefit of that is if you were to have a random puncture on a system like that, the water cannot really migrate very far because it's adhered to the substrate. In this particular system, it would be adhered to what we call a cover board, which is about 1 inch thick of cementitious fiber. So it gives it some good protection against foot traffic. We've got mechanical contractors who do ongoing maintenance on the roof. There are hailstorms, and it also keeps, or can help keep moisture from making its way into the building.
And just one other quick question, so I understand in your expertise, just a percentage wise, what is the increased cost of an adhered system over your typical downstream rubber system? I'm not gonna hold you to it, give me this is my experience guess.
I would say
10% or 50%?
I was going to say it'd probably be 5 to 10%.
Oh, okay, not
Yeah,
significant.
I mean, you're talking,
Alright, thank you.
and again, with this particular project, if we're only looking at those two sections that are in the official proposal, there's not much square footage, there's really not much roofing material to begin with, so yeah, we're talking a minimal.
In this particular case, the difference is about $13,000 between a ballasted system and the alternative fully adhered roof. And the warranty is 10 years difference. So they give us 10 more years with the adhered than the ballasted
Seems
system.
well worth it.
It's on page 2 of the bid.
Alright.
In this scenario, I think you said it best. We wanted to provide a couple options. That's what we tried to do, because we know you guys have more to worry about than just roofing. But in this particular scenario, yeah, the cost was so close and warranty differential, it's.
All right, any other questions or discussion? Yes.
Yeah, I'm still a favor of the foam. One thing about a foam, you put 2 or 3 inches on there. You get insulation in the summer, you get insulation in the winter for the heat and then for air conditioning. And also the foam it sticks to. It just, the experience I have some big barn doors, just regular foam, not this expensive that they special put on roofs. And I got some doors on my barn that are 14 foot high and 16 foot wide, and we foamed it right on the metal. And the doors, when the wind blows, being 16 foot, they actually flex 4 inches, and it still sticks to them. So those are big items for me, but that's my take.
Yeah,
So.
and so no matter what system.
You get no insulation with this or anything. So.
No, there is insulation. There's a tapered insulation package to, so we make sure that water's actually making it to the drain. A couple things with foam roofs. And
Yeah, thank you for everything. We're an hour and a half in, guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there is another
yeah.
meeting coming after us, so.
I just want
In the interest of keeping things moving, any pressing questions, and then we'll get moving.
one more just general,
Yeah.
I've heard through the grapevine, so to speak, that for some reason there's a lot of controversy out here about our spending this money on the jail. pretty much anybody who owns a building knows that other than the building being on fire, if water's getting in your building, you gotta stop it. Because it'll cost 10 times the damage. We have to fix leaky roofs, whether it's the jail or the courthouse or anything else, we have to fix leaky roofs.
All right, any other comments? All right, hearing none, we're on item E. All in favor of moving this forward signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Nay? Thank you, that motion will carry.
Thank you.
For being here.
I appreciate the time, thank you.
All right, move that now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to approve the engagement letter with Ron Kendrick for County Corporate Counsel Services.
Support.
Item F moved and supported. Questions, discussion on this item. I think one of the questions was how long is this for, earlier this week. And this is a month to month?
It's a month to month type of engagement letter, so whenever you're ready to go out for bid, you can change it.
Other questions or discussion? Okay, hearing none. Item F, all in favor of moving it forward signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I move to authorize the clerk to hire a new circuit court deputy clerk at a pay grade.
Motion on the floor.
Support.
Item G is now been seconded. It is open for discussion. Any? All right, item G, hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Aye.
2 nays. That motion will move on to a final vote tomorrow.
I move to authorize the agreement with LexisNexis for citations as part of the Motorola Flex program and authorize the board chair to execute the agreement.
Item H.
Support.
It moved and supported. Questions or discussion? Hearing none. Item H, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I move to approve payment of the invoice from the city of Corona for sidewalk repair in amount not to exceed $23,097.
Support.
I moved and supported. Questions or discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries.
I move to approve the reclassification of assistant prosecutors from grade 10 to 11 and the chief assistant prosecutor from 12 to 13.
Item J moved
Support.
and supported. Questions or discussion over this item?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
We are passing around a detailed spreadsheet that I'd like to go over with you that the prosecutor and myself developed for your review. If you look at the page, you will see that currently, now this is in the ideal scenario if all of the positions, this one, yep, this one, if, like I said, this one right here. If the prosecutor's office was staffed the way that it has been designed to be staffed. So it would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 full-time APAs and 2 APAs that range between half-time and 3/4 depending on workload. So if you follow across to the total for them is about $508,000 to run that office. Of that, about $420,000 of that is for salaries, the other $88,000 is the benefits. So then we prepared 2 options. Now, option 1 takes them, and if you look at this step and grade sheet, it takes them and moves them up to what would be essentially their next raise. And by doing it that way, so you would take them and whatever in the next row would be the greatest, or would be the least amount that would guarantee them a raise above where they currently are. And then what that grade level would be. Doing that would be an increase, a delta of $21,000. Now, there are a couple of problems with that in that a few of the individuals who have been here longer would then be on the same step as new individuals that are higher. Then option 2 takes them and transitions them directly from 1 above to 1 below. So if they were a 10.5, they become an 11.5, for example. And the change between what it is funded at currently and what it would cost to do that increase is $50,612. So that's an increase of wages of about $42,000 and an increase overall of benefits of approximately $97,000 based on those calculations.
So $100,000 a year.
No, 50,000, is the total change. That would be an increase of 50,000 inclusive of all benefits, life insurance, social security, retirement. And you will notice, I do want to draw the board's attention particularly to the MERS line item. It says MERS there. Notice what the MERS rate is, and then notice what the, for the two open positions, the drastic change in it by using Maynard Wealth and Broussard. So there's a substantial savings there. But it would total $50,000 as a change from last year to this year if it's fully staffed.
Discussion a little bit. Last night on, I think it was Channel 12 News at 11, Genesee County, Wayne County cannot hire enough attorneys to do their work. They're out offering all sorts of sums of monies to get people to try trials. And our prosecutor, he gets them trained, and they get the old word poached quickly, and they move on for a lot more money. And we're never going to be able to possibly pay what Livingston County pays, or Ingham, or Genesee, but we need to get close so we can try to keep our attorneys.
And bring them in right now.
Bring them in right now. Also, too, is that one of the things when we had the budget meetings that was kind of telling, used to be that 100% of cases, 60% were non-felony, so to speak, and 40% were felony. Felonies mean trials. Well, today it's 60% felony, so there's a lot more trials. And of course, we have addressed this with the clerk in this finance meeting, trying to get full-time to help with the paperwork, so on and so forth. From the circuit court side, prosecutor's side, everybody in those offices are working late, they're working weekends, and they need some help. So, I know it's more money, but I just think we need to do it.
I would point out that if you do this, this also needs to be done for the public defenders. They are currently funded through a grant, and I don't think they can make adjustments to the grant for this year. But if they can make adjustments to the grant or for next year, this would also have to be done for them as well to keep parity.
What about our nurses? Larry's lost a nurse in the health department, and we have a heck of a time replacing or attracting nurses. We have that problem in every department. So are we then going to, I don't disagree with you, John, we do lose employees, but we lose them in every department.
Yeah.
So what do we?
Well, we just try to
If I may,
do best we can.
for example, not to minimize any other department, but for my legal assistant, I had 30 applicants, at least 30. In this case, I've had 5. 3 withdrew before they even came in for the interview. 1 declined, and 1 still potential candidate. We can't even hire people.
I think that goes across the board, across this entire county. And
I completely agree, and talked to the prosecutor about this earlier, and he's in such a difficult place, and if there's one place we can't lag, it would be in the work he does in enforcing the law in criminal prosecutions and so on. Very, very real effect that, again, isn't to denigrate anything else, but you're right, we have to have a general discussion. It's one of the things I was going to mention tomorrow at our roundtable, as we're going through union negotiations and budgeting stuff, we're hearing the same thing from all of our departments. We have got to grapple with the fact that we're underpaying our employees compared to surrounding counties, and while we can't fix it this year, or even this budget cycle, we better keep it in mind as a long-term plan. We're going to have to find a way to pay people more. Again, how do we do that? Well, unfortunately, there are 2 ways to do it, and one is with cutting jobs, which nobody wants to do. The other is with economic development, which we're definitely working on. But it'll take a number of years to get us back. So I agree with you, and yet this is kind of, to me, an emergency situation.
Larry having nurses isn't?
It is.
court security, road patrol, I mean, everybody is essential here. The health department in the middle of a pandemic, I would think, is also very, very important.
You make
Pleasant
such a good,
View?
you make such a good point during COVID when they said, we're only gonna keep essential personnel. And I'm thinking, if they're not essential, why are we keeping them at all? Everybody's essential. You're right, you make a very good point about that.
Pleasant View is our county nursing home, and those people they are struggling to fill positions there. Not that
Yes.
we can do anything about those wages, but I don't know, I don't like the idea that we pick 2 positions out of the entire county and say they're more important than everybody else.
What's the plan if the raise don't work? You still can't find, especially if Genesee and Saginaw is going through the same thing, they can't pay more.
I don't know
What do we do?
I'm not familiar, but there's potential that AG could come in and help.
And I don't think that's an option that anyone in this county really wants.
We don't want the state taking over
Yeah, we want local
our
control.
functions.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's, I think that's potential, I'm not verifying that's what's gonna happen, but we have conflict cases, we send them on, the AG takes over, so if we don't have staff, then we have to try these cases.
I'm sure that the judges are looking, will look at this vote tonight and tomorrow with, can we even do trials on a timely basis? And when you can't do trials on a timely basis, that can be a real problem with the the court system.
I think every county employee will be looking at this decision, John, not just the judges.
Oh, yes, I agree.
Yes, go ahead.
Doug Corwin, Marquette Public Defender's Office. I agree with everything Scott has said. We keep parity with the prosecutor's office. We are 90% funded by the state. I can make some budget adjustments. We have already approved my budget for October 1st, so I'll be going into my budget. I can meet with Mr. Boggs. I think if we tweak my budget, we could match that, but it does bring problems with the entire county. You're going to be dealing with us, each department coming at you. It is a problem. Scott is down employees. I'm down to, I have 5 full-time positions for attorneys. I am down to 3 of us working. And we're handling a caseload that is unbelievable. I built into my budget where I can hire some outside counsel to cover that, but that depletes very quickly. So there are budget tweaks I can do to go along with whatever the board decides. I can tell you I would advocate, I think there's something that needs to be done countywide. But for the prosecutor's office and my office, it's almost to an emergency level. We cannot keep up with the case law. It is very difficult at this time. We will do it, we're all dedicated, I think Scott will do everything, but it would help. We've advertised our positions for, I think, 2 weeks now, not a single applicant. I've made offers to some local attorneys, and it's just not good enough. Thinking it, and that's starting them at grade 10 at step 6. So it is very difficult. And we have 0 applicants, so we're in a tough spot as well. But Ms. Garber, your comments are correct. We're going to have a unit, well, you did for the prosecutor, the public defender, we're going to have that. But I think we all recognize countywide something has to be done. This would be the start, the tip of the sword, so to speak, to see what we can afford. I think some tweaks to my budget, I think Scott tweaks to his, the numbers are, I come up with about the same figures as what the prosecutor is.
Well, I think another thing to consider is very, very quickly, we're gonna have employees making more than the elected officials that run the departments. So, I don't know what we do then.
All right, any other discussion over this item?
I don't think there's, with this, under this proposal, that's not.
Well, most elected officials aren't paid as highly as you are, Scott. So I think in other departments, if we have to try and bring this up, we're gonna run into that problem.
And I understand, I'm sympathetic to the county
item J forward on to tomorrow, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries with 2 nays.
I move to approve the purchase of a new Ford F-150 Super Crew Cab for emergency management in an amount not to exceed $40,000 from Signature Ford in Perry.
Support.
And Kay, moved and supported. Questions or discussion over this?
Just remember it's fully paid for. At least that's his plan, whatever it is.
Actually, he has a.
Is that through the state too?
I
State-
believe that's through the state
Yes,
purchasing
it is.
system,
Oh,
and
okay.
it goes to a local dealer.
Yeah, I know, okay.
Questions or discussion? Item K, I guess I'm a little ahead of where I thought I was on time. All right. Item K, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And L will be at the end of the meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for your report. At this time, we'll go ahead and move on to the Economic Development Committee report. I'm not sure what the vice chair of that one is, but thank you very much.
All right, I would move that we approve the L 4029 2021 tax rate request as presented and instruct the chair and clerk to execute the same.
Second.
Item A moved and supported. Questions or discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor of moving item A forward, and we will final vote tomorrow, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion will carry, and Commissioner Garber, thank you for giving my economic development report. Let's go ahead and move into our Public and Safety and Courts Committee. Chairman of that committee is Commissioner Webster.
All right, item A, I move to approve the invoice from Rave Mobile Safety in an amount not to exceed $9,500.
Support. All right, item A under Public Safety and Courts, moved and supported. Questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of item A signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item B, I move to approve the contract as presented from Mikasa in an amount not to exceed $49,998 to be paid from the Child Care Fund and authorize the board to execute the agreement. The board chair.
Support.
Item B, moved by Commissioner Webster, seconded by Commissioner Plowman. Questions or discussion over item B? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item C, I move to approve the contract as presented from Impact Counseling Services in an amount not to exceed $15,000 and authorize the board chair to execute the agreement.
Support. Item C moved and supported. Questions or discussion over this item? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item C passes to tomorrow.
Item D, I move to approve the refilling of a juvenile caseworker for family court.
Support.
Item D moved and supported. Questions or discussion? All right, all in favor?
Can I make one comment? I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
On this position, I didn't mention this last night, because the change the age doesn't go into effect till October 1st, I won't be looking to do this until the first of the year.
Okay.
So it's not keep it, I just want to clarify that.
Very good. All right, item D, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries to tomorrow.
Item E, I move to approve the funeral expenses for Deputy Darrell Henderson.
Support.
Item E moved and supported. It is now open for questioning or discussion. Yes.
Two things. First of all, I'd like just a point of clarification if I could. Dr. Boggs, do our deputies get $25,000 or $50,000 for life insurance? You know, my understanding.
25.
Okay.
Well, so there's a difference. There's POLC, which is the corrections officers, which is what Mr. Henderson was part of. And then the road deputies are Teamsters. And theirs may or may not be higher. Do you know if it's 50 or 25?
We got the same question, we're not sure.
Okay.
We have to look at the contract.
All right.
There may be a difference because they just negotiate.
Okay. That was just a point of clarification. Somebody had suggested to me it might be more. Nevertheless,
This one in particular falls in the classification where it's 25.
it's 25. Okay. I got some information today. I officiated actually a COVID funeral and learned that FEMA provides financial assistance for COVID-19 related funeral expenses. They will pay up to $9,000. It's a very simple $800 for an application, and there are 3 documents required, so it's not a lot of red tape. It's a death certificate, a motion that we pay what is not covered by FEMA.
I'll support that.
So if FEMA says nothing, then we just repay. But if they give 9, then we would pay the 3 or 2, or whatever it is.
Yes, I'm okay with that, I guess, but I would,
Can we put in a specific number, for instance, I think it was, somewhere in the neighborhood of $12,000. If we put, we
Up
will
to-
cover a certain amount of time. Therefore, while today we expect to pay the 3,000, if for some reason FEMA in their, government way says no, because of this, we won't pay it, then the county will still pick it up, so the family doesn't have to pay this for, in the line of duty. It may put us in for a few thousand extra, won't break the county, but at least it'll be covered. But I think you're right about, that's wonderful, Marlene, that you found that. So, probably $3,000 approximately.
and from what I understand, it's pretty standard, I mean, they are paying pretty well, so, hopefully those two things together will help cover all of the expenses.
And everything you said, that's okay with my side?
Got the discussion?
Well, I was going to say, could we get a little more clear on what you'd like the motion to be?
So, I will clarify the motion to say, that we will pay, for, Deputy Henderson's, funeral expenses, for whatever is not covered as following a FEMA application, up to but not exceeding $12,000.
Up to not to exceed 12,000.
Right. But I don't know how you wanna work with them, and I'll just give you this then, that's the phone number to call in. Okay?
We'll get it taken care of.
Okay, I'm gonna bring up the elephant in the room now. What about the precedence that it sets? What happens if another employee dies? Are we gonna do this?
That is a good question.
We gotta answer.
I think that, I think if you do this, you need to make a hard and fast line of distinction between law enforcement and the other employees, for those kind of things. And that's probably not a popular idea, but I'm not sure how else to play it.
If I may suggest
Yep.
an alternate, because I've struggled with this as well. As I said, while I have tremendous compassion and I decided that I would definitely support, I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
Nope,
here?
you didn't. You're up.
Oh,
He's
okay.
next.
That this isn't in the line of duty, and we might, and perhaps it would probably cost very little for ourselves to ensure this. We could add that if there's a death directly caused by anyone working for the county, if someone is carrying files down the stairs, trips and falls, and dies, in effect, doing their job, perhaps that is something we would want to look at covering on a compassionate basis. That, again, it's so rare, may never happen again. And I'm not saying somebody who happens to pass away on the job. I'm saying someone who dies as a direct cause of working for the county, whether they're run over by a car, die in the line of duty as this, whatever. I would be in favor of that sort of thing, and I suspect if we could insure ourselves against it, it would be a very, very moderate cause because it's such a rare thing. So,
Gary's up.
Yeah, we had 2 other employees die in the county, and one died right in his office, I heard, so we didn't pay for those. But I'm not objecting that, but I think another one died also, so.
but was it caused by?
Well, who knows what it was caused by? Maybe it was just stress, so, working for the county. Who's gonna determine
All of a sudden,
those?
this border doomed.
I will say, since I've been here, there have been 3
Yeah.
individuals, 2 of which have passed away at work.
Yeah,
Mr. Henderson or Deputy Henderson passed away at a hospital, but the other 2 did pass away here in the county during working hours.
yeah, it's so stressful, so. I mean, I'm not saying that, but I just said there's other things that happen, so we're gonna have to decide who's gonna pay and who isn't, so.
Okay, also, work comp. Is this as a result of him passing away from COVID, that, I mean, it's not 100% that he contracted it at the jail, but there's a good chance it was, of course. Where does work comp fit into this? I mean, we don't know. I don't know either.
I'm thinking that's more to your example if you fall down the stairs kind of thing. Carrying a box of files might
But
be
it's-
worth
but is it
it.
what-
Even if we cover it as a policy, there will be grave cases we have to handle at the time. But again, this may never ever come up again, something like this. But it's a good point. The example that was given, I'm not saying someone who happens to die on the job, because people do get sick and pass away. But if they're working for us, doing work, and because of their job, I know they have workers' comp and so on, it probably is a reasonable benefit that we can provide people at very low cost, that we'll tell them. That way we don't have to vote on it every time, and if we have it as a policy. Just a reasonably compassionate thing you should do for your workers.
We also cover life insurance for all employees too, so
We do.
that helps out, so. Maybe we ought to increase that, so. I mean, there's no end to what we can do.
Well, I think what we can do in this instance is.
I'm not objecting to it, I just says there's other issues out there, so we're gonna have to, there's gonna be more people who could die with the same issue. Lots of people, because this COVID is gonna go on forever. It's not gonna be just today, it's gonna go on.
And I appreciate Commissioner Mark's caution. I mean, we are setting precedent, and so, I feel comfortable in this case that
Yeah.
probably we're gonna pay about $3,000. So
Mhm.
if that's the precedent, if we give $3,000 for funeral expenses of people who die directly related to their work, that's not a that's not a terrible precedent.
Yeah.
12,000's a bit much, but we are in special circumstances. It is COVID. He was a law enforcement officer. It is kind of case by case, but also we're setting precedent, so it's just tough.
John, you've been around since the earth cooled off. Has there, in your memory, has anyone else ever died directly related to the work for the county?
No, but
So it's gonna be really, really rare.
see, it's just like with the two people, I'll take the gentleman who passed away at work from a heart attack, he died of a heart attack. He didn't die from catching a heart attack at work.
Right.
With the gentleman, it's good chance, COVID came from his workstation. I don't know for sure, but, and that would be on the job. Yeah. So, there are several things there that, even though we do this today, the FEMA pays the 9 and we pay the 3, there is a lot of reasons why the sums of money that would be incurred here, there's life insurance, there could be work comp, FEMA. So after we get this all done, I guess we'll have to sort it out. So that's fine.
And I think if the precedent we set is supporting law enforcement, I don't see a downside to that.
No, I don't see a downside, I just said there's other issues out there.
That's right. I brought it up Monday too, I think.
But I can't recall anybody else passing away, but, 1970s is a long time ago.
We never had COVID before either, so.
Yeah.
Okay, commissioners, let's find out what your pleasure is on item E. All in favor of moving this on to tomorrow, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. That motion will carry on to tomorrow's agenda. And thank you very much for that report, Commissioner Wilson. And so we'll go ahead and move into our Health and Human Services Committee. Commissioner Garber.
I would move that we approve the contract renewal with the Shiawassee Regional Education Service District for hearing and vision screening for an amount not to exceed $13,770 and authorize the board chair to execute the contract.
Support.
Item A moved and supported. Questions or discussion regarding this item? Hearing none. All in favor of item A moving forward, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I would move that we approve the contract renewal with Convenient Urgent Care for sexually transmitted infection services and authorize the board chair to execute the contract.
Support.
Item B, moved and supported. Questions or discussions over this item? Hearing none. All in favor of item B signify by saying aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I would move that we approve the contract renewal with Shiawassee Health and Wellness for social work service as part of the maternal infant health program and authorize the board chair to execute the contract.
Support.
Item C, moved and supported. Questions or discussion regarding this item? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I would move that we approve the contract renewal with Shiawassee Health and Wellness for social work services as part of the Perry School's Child and Adolescent Health Program in an amount not to exceed $82,101 and authorize the board chair to execute the contract.
Support.
Item D, moved and supported. Questions or discussion over item D? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I would move that we approve the contract renewal with Shiawassee Health and Wellness for social work services as part of the Durand School Wellness Program in an amount not to exceed $82,101 and authorize the board chair to execute the contract.
Support.
Item E, moved and supported. Questions or discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of item E moving forward signify by saying aye. Item will move forward. Unanimous? Sorry.
I would move that we approve the contract renewal with Connie Brown for dietitian services in the WIC program and authorize the board chair to execute the contract.
Support.
Item F, moved and supported. Open for discussion. Hearing none. All in favor of item F signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I move that we set the COVID vaccine administrative fee at $40.
Support.
Item G, moved and supported. Questions or discussion regarding this item? All I'll reiterate is that yesterday they said if someone shows up to get a vaccine and they don't have insurance, they're not paying the $40, right?
That is
That way
correct.
we can get as many people vaccinated. Okay, good. Anything else? Hearing none. Item G, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I move that we refill the vacancy of a registered environmental health sanitarian at a grade 9.
Support.
Item H, moved and supported. Questions or discussion over this item? Hearing none. All in favor of item H signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I would move that we approve the refilling of a public health nurse, grade 9.
Support.
Item I, moved and supported. Commissioner Holzhausen, number 10, you go first. Anything to say over this? It's a late addition, but we understand it. Yeah, why don't you go ahead and just quickly.
Unfortunately today we're losing one of our nurses to another position in Lansing. Just found out about it this morning. Obviously we heard the discussion about salaries and she's able to get a higher salary, better opportunity. We're gonna miss her a lot. She is our immunization coordinator that is helping run the vaccine clinic, so we gotta move quickly. And so we appreciate you taking this up today.
Commissioners, any questions or discussion? All right. Item I, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That motion will move on to tomorrow's agenda. Thank you, Larry. Yes.
That concludes my report for Health and Human Services.
Thank you. We'll turn it back over to Commissioner Plowman. We hadn't forgotten item L, it's just a big ticket item, so we wanted to make sure we do the business. And now we're back.
Discussion for re-awarding premium payment to middle managers. Discussion.
Okay, we're open for discussion. There's no motion or items on the floor right now, we're just discussing item L.
So I think we're gonna make a motion tomorrow.
Well, we could, nothing is final till tomorrow, no matter what we do here today, but, right.
We're working at.
We could work on crafting a motion tonight.
Yes, we could, absolutely.
I have a question for Dr. Boggs. Dr. Boggs, approximately, how many employees fell under the $5,000 threshold who got the bonus?
Total given minus 13, I can't tell you off the top of my head. That was the bulk of the employees.
So it was 250 employees, about, minus the 13.
Okay.
So 237.
Well, that 200
Around 200. All right. One of my suggestions, especially, how many times just today have we discussed our employees' salaries being low and so on? We're talking about what to do with COVID money. One of the things I was in favor with, while I'm okay with keeping the $5,000, I'm comfortable with the gap. And I'd be in favor of taking some of the COVID money and all those who got less than 5,000, give them another 1,000. I know it's a lot of money, but we did get a lot of money from the federal government on this. We're still going to have a lot left compared to all of the money we got. It's not a lot. I think it would go a long way toward making our people feel better, an extra $1,000, and a real good use of our funds. And like I said, I'm going to be kind of Ebenezer Scrooge on these funds moving forward, but in this case, I would support giving the $5,000 as proposed, giving it back to the non-elected people, and increasing that amount from our COVID funds by $1,000 per person. Not getting into any variations, and let's just give people some more money, a little bit of appreciation. It's not a fortune, I know it doesn't fix the gap we have, but at least it shows we're trying.
So you're saying that everybody who got 2,500 would get an extra 1,000?
And everybody got 1,000 would get an extra 1,000, everybody got 1,200 gets an extra. Just, I don't think we want to really get into all the gradations, and it should be 1,200 or should it be 900 or so on. Let's not get into that argument. My suggestion, or can do it once, let's just take some more of this money and give it to our employees. I can't think of a better investment at this moment.
So with, what is it, 7 middle managers, I see the names on there, and what, about 200 employees, about $250,000 total
Yep.
impact on money we have to give back.
And it's
anyway.
8 names.
It's 8.
8 names.
So still around 250,000.
So while we're talking about this, so I mean, I don't disagree. My proposal tonight was going to be, what was in writing in front of us at that meeting was that we were giving an average of $2,048 to county employees. I would still like to vote yes tonight on what I voted yes on that night, to give an average of $2,048, to give $2,048 to all the employees, which would be different than your proposal, because the people who got 2,500 would not get more, which is leave them where they are. They'd get 25, which would be a little more than these. But I in addition to the middle managers, I think, the department heads, so people have asked for the names. I think we could say the names of who this would be. The middle, is that okay?
I think for the middle managers, those are individuals that are not in the spotlight. While they are public employees, I think it's important to respect their privacy.
Okay.
I mean, most of them are, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them are in the health department.
Okay.
2 of them are sitting in the room.
Okay.
The department heads and the top level administrators, that's probably,
Okay.
that's fine.
So, I would like to see us include department heads, and at least, we have 2 top-level administrators, Larry Johnson and Tim Hill, whose jobs were very affected by COVID. Not saying that Brian Boggs and Tracy's weren't, but
I don't want anyone.
and I respect that, and I appreciate it, because I think it's probably the best optics for all concerned. But why not include all of them in whatever we decide to do? Because right now they all have 0.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
The
Yeah,
department heads.
It wasn't my intention to give anyone 0.
Right, no, but I'm just saying, if we just give everybody 1,000 more, that means because they have 0 now, they would just be getting 1,000. So we have to make some determination about what they would get. Right?
I would understand that.
Yeah.
So you're suggesting move department heads in with middle managers?
Yeah.
So say
And a
department
couple of-
heads and middle managers would get that amount. Anyone who did not get that amount would get, well,
The 2,000.
my suggestion was an extra 1,000. Yours might.
Yeah, it doesn't
formula.
make huge, yeah.
Somebody else might have some other ideas. I was just trying to simplify things and make a gesture to our employees.
And I would like a couple, the administrators to be included in that too. Tim Hill and Larry Johnson, and I guess Tracy.
I would lobby for Tracy.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely for Tracy. Tracy has done a wonderful job for us.
Where is she? She's probably working.
She probably ran.
Pleasure.
I mean, you just give everybody $2,500 across the board, and people, that way, the people already got 2,500, get 2,500, and everybody is the same. From what I've talked to, talking to some of the department heads and administrators and the middle managers, it's an awkward position to be in, to have that gap, where your employee's got 1,000 and you got 5 or 12, it just doesn't make good dynamics in the office. Give everybody the same.
Commissioner Brewer, I have one thought when we talk about, giving everyone $1,000 and who got what. I think one of the things that crosses my mind is the work share program. That many of our employees were able to take a part in, and that was at least $5,000. That's huge, and that's tax-free. So you talk about getting an extra $600 a week to take a day off, and you get that money, $673 tax-free for at least 8 weeks. Many volunteered longer than that. That's a ton of money.
It is.
That's a good
So,
point.
And that saves the county
We
money,
have a list, we
right?
have a list of those
It
individuals.
saves the county money for them to do that,
It
so
did
it didn't
as well.
cost us much.
So everyone was enrolled.
but not everyone could do that, or
Correct.
did do that.
Everyone was enrolled in the work share program except elected officials and 911. Because 911 did not have enough staff members at that time to be able to participate.
So it still keeps things equitable, because we're not talking
Anyone
about
gets something slightly higher, thank you for not being able to engage in work share.
So everyone engaged in work share.
Pretty much.
I don't know, he said that.
Everyone except 911 and elected officials did.
So that's a lot of money.
And one of the
Whether it
things,
saved us money or not, that's
Oh.
tax-free money.
Public Defender's Office did, but they were grant funded, they didn't. That was another issue.
And two, what I remember from those early days of the pandemic is a lot of elected officials working
With no staff.
with no staff, yeah, staff home, and rightly so probably, but our elected officials, I feel like we treat them like second-class citizens.
But we can't give them money, isn't
I
that?
understand
No.
that, but why do we live in this
I think we can give them money, I think that we
culture?
cannot give ourselves.
Many of them cannot receive money.
I
is that right?
think Marlene's right about
Okay,
that. That's,
well,
I
that takes
believe
There
that's
are-
what's.
I don't
Scott
know, we
told us.
gave
There are
the
two
prosecutor a
different,
raise.
there are 2 or 3 different various opinions on that. Scott has one, Brian Kendrick has a different one, Bonnie Toski's firm has a different one, and only Scott's includes the elected officials not being able to get it. The other ones say that the elected officials can exclusive of you guys.
I think
So
as
that's-
time is waning, I think we should kind of we're not probably gonna give money to elected officials today. I just don't think that there's any.
I'm not saying we should, but I'm saying we sit here with elected officials in the room that were here every day without staff
I
working.
do understand
And we don't
that.
acknowledge that.
I'm glad you do, yet, all I'm saying is, we got 20 to 7, and I think we're making some progress. What do you think about the proposals to give more money, either level amount, or bring everybody up to the exact same amount? I don't know.
I don't know, I think all this free money is nothing but a nightmare.
It is, isn't it funny
Yeah, no.
how upset
It's
people
not a
get
nightmare
when
for
you're
those
giving away
that are
money?
gonna get the check that need it, you know.
I don't know, look at people that win the lotto and they overdose on drugs. I don't know. I just don't think it's all it's cracked up to be.
I think whatever it is, there's an opportunity for us to mend some fences with our employees today by recognizing, we did get, as you said, free money in, and while I think we have to be very, very careful with that, I think that investing some of it in our employees.
Yes.
Now, how we can do it without making anyone unhappy, we can't. Whatever we do tonight, Some people are gonna say it's unfair, well, I worked a lot harder and such got to stay home, or I hold a higher position, so that person got this percent of their pay and bonus, I got far less as a percent, it should have been based on a percent. Some people, we're gonna have some people unhappy, and that's why I just said a flat amount. Well, they had a different idea. I guess John, Gary, Brandon, weigh in.
Well, I mean, I like the flat amount, I think $1,000 isn't a flat amount, this is what I'm saying, $1,000 more, it doesn't make it flat.
Gentlemen?
I would think that this is how I listened to all this, and I think it's very well founded. Those who weren't up to 2,500, we bring up to 2,500 apiece. Those who are like at 2,500, I think we should raise up to at least 3,000. And then for our department heads, which would include, or supervisors, the term, and which would also include Hill and Johnson, I think those 10 people, that makes us 10 now, 5,000 each. And I agree, we're not gonna always make everybody happy, but we're not out of COVID yet. I mean, it isn't like COVID ended in this spring and we didn't have the flu. COVID's back, not as maybe as viral, and those who have had shots or the natural immunity because they had it is better. But I think COVID stress will work on our county employees all winter into the spring. So, and it didn't end, and it's going to be with us. So, that's kind of how I look at it. The stress didn't go away. It's still with us.
The reason I'm trying to pin this down a little bit is because I would like Dr. Boggs, before we make a motion and so on tomorrow, and approve, to know what it is that this is going to cost.
I'll provide you a spreadsheet.
We can move the discussion to tomorrow, so when we have our numbers, we can look at them again.
And it'll give district.
Numbers on what?
If we're gonna have some calculations, we probably need to put some numbers to that, so we can.
So we can, I'm sorry, Gary, go ahead.
We're gonna have the numbers on what? Whose idea? His idea, your idea, his
Probably
idea,
all
my
the above.
idea?
All of the above.
We're thinking maybe all three.
Yeah, we'll take a
We'll
look.
throw them in the hat and decide which one.
Okay, let me restate mine then, and maybe I'll like one of yours better, but let me restate mine and you, let me restate and John restate for Brian. Mine, Dr. Boggs, was that we would approve, for those who got $5,000 and more, not elected officials, they would get a flat 5,000. My suggestion was also that anyone who did not get that amount be given another flat $1,000.
What was Marlene's?
Yep.
I wanna hear
I'm
hers.
actually not hearing you restate that. I think I would just combine mine with yours. So that means everybody who got 1,000 would now get 2,000. Everybody who got 2,500 would now get 3,500. And the people who had to return their money, who are not elected officials, would all get 5,000.
Correct. If before they got more, they get 5. If they got 5, they still got that 5. That was my idea. That would bring things much closer to parity, and yet at the same time recognize, that our supervisors, who, much like some of our elected people, work many hours. They got a little more. That is not an uncommon thing. When I was in the private sector, bonus time would come around every year, and the top paid people, their bonus as a percent, it was paid by a percent, their bonus was more than my entire salary, even if we got the same percent. But that's because they made millions of dollars a year. I understood that. I didn't see it as a terrible, unfair thing. They had quite a bit of rank over me and quite a bit of achievement, so they got a little bit more money. But that would certainly narrow the gap, and I think show our people we really appreciate the job they're doing.
So I would like to see, I will give one proposal. I would just like to see what the number is if everybody gets 2,500.
Let's say 3. Because some people already got 2,500, right? I was gonna say, let's say, 'cause
Some, yeah,
did
yes,
anyone get over 2,500?
Yeah. Those 13 people.
yeah, but
Oh,
none
they
of them.
didn't get back, so they don't have that money right now.
So that would mean
So
no new
2,500.
distributions to the people who got 2,500, a distribution to the people who only got 1,000, and a distribution to the people who had to pay theirs back. So I'd like to just see
Everyone gets
what happens when everybody gets 25.
Yeah, that was gonna be what I was gonna say.
We'll see what the monies are.
Yep.
That's fine, if you wanna do the two, just do the two.
Well, you could put your.
I can put mine in there too.
Yeah, let's have some.
Yep.
Let's see it all.
And we need to go through this list because there's 8 names here. I can think of one off the top of my head that's missing. And I think we need to go, we need to just,
Tell me who you think. They may or may not get that number. Tell me later.
Okay. But I'd like to see the definitive list then.
So I'll make the motion, we move the discussion to tomorrow's commissioners meeting.
Did you have a proposal with numbers?
No, the discussion, we've discussed it, we'll see what the numbers.
Dr. Box doesn't have enough to do to fill his day.
Yeah. He's got enough.
Someone gonna second that?
For that, yeah, we don't have a second yet.
Who made the motion?
I did.
Commissioner Plowman, just to move
I'll
all these
second it.
proposals, discussion on tomorrow, okay, it's been moved and seconded, you get a chance to discuss one last time? Is there any? We just have to discuss to death, but there's a motion on the table. All right, in that case, hearing none, all in favor of moving this discussion on to a final vote, possibly tomorrow, and to be clear, there doesn't have to be a final vote tomorrow, is there? Although, it's probably in our best interest to conclude that.
We're making a final vote tomorrow.
Just make it clear to the public. Okay, all in favor of moving this on to tomorrow, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It will be on the agenda for tomorrow. Mr. Board Chair, do you have any report for the board or anything to say you want to?
If it's all right with the board, in the interest of time and the fact that I'd like to use the restroom before planning commission, I will move my reports and anything I have to say to the board to tomorrow.
Coordinator Boggs, I assume the same for you.
Correct.
All right, but we are going to give the public a second opportunity to address the board, as is your right. Is there anyone that would like to address the board at this time?
Oh, quick. I want to again reiterate my question. On Monday, I asked a question about middle management, why middle management? I am $1,000 person, I'm gonna stay up front. I work from the beginning. March 16th, 2020, we started. We were on a skeleton crew, we reported to work, and we reported to work every day. I continue to do that. There were times when there were people not allowed in the building, but I was allowed to go out and directed to go out. So it isn't about, my struggle here has to do with not whether who and them and what they deserve and what they earn, but give me criteria. Tell me how you came up with it. Why 5,000? What is a middle manager? Who is a middle manager? What is it? And why are they more at risk? Because to me it appears, and believe me, we've had this discussion at home because my husband, he was a 2,500 person, okay? And I say to him, what put you more at risk? You explain to me why you are more at risk, and of course, you know, he runs in the other room. But, I mean, what does he do? Why is it different? Much of his business was conducted on Zoom. I was face to face. I was in the field. And I understood that. I understood it's a premium payment to say thank you. But my question is for those $1,000 people, it almost is like you're not as valued. And it isn't, and it's hard because I don't want to appear greedy, because that isn't. It's the principle of the matter. So I prefer a flat thing because then you tell us all we're valued. That you respect us and you appreciate us. Because I'd like to know what would happen if those $1,000 people stayed home for 2 weeks. Where would you be and how would you get there? You know, it's really, I have to tell you, it's frustrating. It's frustrating. And it isn't about the money. It's about the respect, the appreciation, and the acknowledgement. And that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes, sir. Floor is yours, and then it'll be yours.
But you're discussing that you want to give 2,500 or 3,000 or whatever to these county employees. And as stated and admitted, They didn't miss a day's wage. Small business owners suffered the most in Michigan, and their employees. Come up with a formula for them, and the public will see light and see that you are transparent. All you want to do is feed the government. Taxpayers are tired of it. We the people govern you folks, not the other way around. Remember that.
Thank you, Mr. Shepherd.
You talk about second-class citizens. You do not realize the hatred between people who work for the government, who are overpaid, under pension, they get all the good stuff, and you got people who work at Myers, you got people who work at Home Depot. Where do you think all this money that you're giving away, like winning lotteries, where do you think that comes from? That comes from the private sector of people who sell goods and services for a thing called profit, okay? Every dime that you're paying, your $10,000 and everything, comes from somebody who got it taxed away. You tax my Medicare, you tax my pension, you basically, you tax all my income is taxed, and it goes to people who work for the government. Let's go to Reed's 101 Economics. Government does not create wealth, it consumes it. Every last one. You would not be here. For every person you got working for the county, you got 40 people and everything who are working for private business, and let's face it, taxes are not optional. You have to pay taxes. Okay, and you guys are handing out winning lottery tickets like, oh, let's give $3,000 here, let's give $2,500 there. You know what? I got a niece who's a major department head in state government. She makes over $150,000 a year. This is the most unreported thing by the liberal news media is. She got Gretchen laid off every state of Michigan worker for one day on Fridays. So they get the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. She got a Monday through Thursday prorated check on her $150,000 salary, and basically she was told to apply for state unemployment, which was $256, and then she got the Trump $600, so she got $800, and do the math and everything, for being laid off one day. Do you think that that offer wouldn't be taken if somebody in private business working at Myers or Home Depot or something like that? And it was never reported by the news media. Never. Because the news media favors Democrats. Anything that's bad for the Democrats is not going to get reported. And she did it for 16 weeks. No, she got laid off for one day and made $856 for being laid off one day. So you guys got to be very, very careful on money that doesn't belong to you, on who you give it out, because there's people in the private sector that you tax it away from so you can be able to give it out. Okay, the people who work for the government are not first-class citizens. Okay, they're just like everybody else. You can't give a particular people who are supported by the taxpayers' dollar and basically say, well, you people work at Myers and everything, as long as I can go in and get my groceries and everything, you better be there, or the gas station owner, or what other type of required businesses, why you give people and everything who... Fine.
We'll take it. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would... Yes, sir?
I'm just sorry, I just was, at the last meeting, Marlene, you were gonna say something, but you were cut off at the very end. You were gonna address something, and I just wanna know what you had to say. That's
Yeah, it was just related to, I'm gonna respect the time here because we have a meeting coming in at 7. I'll share those things tomorrow night at the board meeting, okay? Thank you.
Okay. All right. Yes, sir.
Yes, if the board could explain sometime, and I'm sure that because of time constraints today, it's not good, but the rules that I read that were handed out by the government, the average citizen was not allowed to be given any of this money. It was according to what came out of Washington. It was very, very straightforward, if I remember, where taxpayers were not allowed to have any of this back. But you could give this to, like what you're doing, to some government officials. You could give it to some nonprofits. You could spend it on infrastructure. But what I remember, and please tell me if I'm wrong, but the average citizen couldn't get one dime. That's all. And thank you.
Thank you. Last call. Anyone else? Yep. You gotta go.
Just listening to everything, there's no real good solution, but one thing I want to make clear to the board, transparency isn't doing what somebody wants you to do. Transparency is exactly what you're doing, having this discussed in public, taking input from public. So thank you for being transparent. I just heard a comment that just kind of made me shrug my shoulders that transparency is doing what somebody wants you to do. You're the elected officials. Another thing I would throw out there is look at a percent across the board, based on what your income is, what your wage rate is. You get a 0.5% raise as the COVID bonus, or 1% bonus, something like that. That way it's 100% fair across the board. Nobody's getting any more than anybody else. It's a percentage. Just throwing it out for food for thought. But I do find the board being transparent.
Thank you. Mr. Schneider, the floor is yours.
Okay. I disagree with what Tom was saying. My understanding of this money was to be used for anyone that was affected with this COVID. It's not, you can't draw a line and say the average guy that gets it or his family gets it is not eligible for assistance with this fund. And tonight, nobody here has talked about it. And these other gentlemen here is all you're talking about is giving more government people government money. And you're arguing about how much. But you're not talking about the guys that are, the public. They pay their taxes. That's where this is all coming from. Don't you think a little bit should be going back to the people that got hurt, couldn't afford, getting the doggone shots? Because there, when it was first came out, it was tough finding some places that would give them, and it's still tough in some areas. Don't you think that the little guy could use a little help? You guys are fast with adding up your little calculators. It's coming up, oh, well, it's going to be hundreds of $1,000s, but it's a drop in the bucket because we're getting umpteen million. Then why are we arguing about it? Why aren't we helping the little guy? They're important. As is in, we do need to talk about it and discuss it. And no, we don't have to sign anything as to say, we got to do it by tomorrow. All these other states, all these other counties in the states, many of them haven't even addressed the darn thing yet. They're doing their research. They're trying to compile the numbers for what if and how abouts. And they take that to the meetings and they discuss it knowing a lot of these answers that you guys are kicking around. Instead of saying, well, we gotta do this right away. No. Make a wise choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schneider. Anybody else? Okay, hearing none, this meeting is adjourned. Oh, I did not see you. You are on.
Paula Brooks, and I have to somewhat agree with Les Snyder that you have already made a comment that you're going in for training in the next few weeks. Go through the training, see what they've actually got to say, because all of these numbers, all of these comments, everything else keeps changing by the minute. Why don't you wait? Why does it have to be done right this minute? That's all I have to say.
Truly, thank you. All right. Did I miss anybody? All right, this meeting